Okay, we're not quite yet. You're right, we're not quite yet. Jimmy's in town, right? Oh, does he? Welcome to our city council meeting. It's a few minutes after 5, so I guess we better get started, hadn't we? Welcome, and we're glad to have a number of visitors here today for a variety of different things, I'm sure. We'd like to just get started with an invocation. First of all, we have the chaplain of the Ivans Veterans Home here, Don, let's see, we get your name right, Francis, chaplain. Don Francis, thank you for being here. He will lead us in a prayer, after which we'll have a pledge of allegiance, and I'll just announce it right now. We have a couple good-looking young men seated about two-thirds the back, way back. It's not this time. It's not Joe and Ed this time. It's the couple of good-looking young men are Pierce Fowler. Raise your hand, Pierce, really high. Pierce is from Pleasant Grove. And then Joseph Smith. Raise your hand, Joseph, or stand up. He is from Santa Clara. And they are both grandsons of, someone we might talk about a little bit later, Candy Fowler. So anyway, let's do it in that order. Chaplain, if you'd come forward and bless us with an invocation.
Let's bow our heads for prayer. Our beloved Father in heaven, we bow our heads before Thee in humbleness and with thankfulness for the great blessings You give us in this democracy, the opportunity to stand up and to be counted as individuals within the confines of our government and rule. We pray, Father, that Thou bless these proceedings. Bless all herein to speak with love and kindness, and yet hold to the determinations and the things which they believe are right. We pray for a blessing upon these leaders, that they may seek Thy Spirit, that they may govern the people here and do so in righteousness. We pray, Father, that Thou wilt bless those men and women who, from this community, serve their nation in the armed forces. Bless and uplift them, keep them safe. Watch over their families. Give them the strength and the health, and wrap Thy arms around them. We pray for Thy blessings this evening. In the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Don. Okay, Pierce and Joseph, come tell us what we need to do. You watch, they'll do a great job. Right there at that microphone. There you go.
May the audience please rise.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The audience may be seated.
How about that? Great job, young man. Appreciate you being here. They didn't know they were going to have to work when they came to this meeting. Okay. Let's see. Council, any announcements that we ought to make up front so I don't forget while there's all these good people here? Anything we need to announce, Betty? Not yet. Yeah. It's spring, but will you keep praying for snow in the mountains? Let's specify the mountains. We could still use some water. Okay, well then we will get started. The first thing that is not on our written agenda, we are pleased to have the Excellence in the Arts Awards presented, and I know that's why a number of you are here tonight. Betty, would you just, as our liaison with the Arts Commission and pretty much all things arts, you're so good about that, would you kind of introduce this for us, and then we'll begin.
Thank you. It's a great honor to see so many beautiful, auspicious art patrons and lovers of these two great people that have lived in our community and enriched it and blessed all of us. And as a member of the Arts Commission, we welcome you. It's probably the only way we'd ever get you to come to one of these boring city council meetings. So thank you for being here. And I would like to now turn the proceedings over to John Kessler, who is our very able and great commission leader.
All right. So real quick, just so those who don't know, the Art Commission is mostly volunteers. We have some liaisons with the city and with the county, school district, and just people from different different backgrounds in theater, dance, visual arts, literary arts. And we are basically there to help assist the city and give suggestions, recommendations from our vantage point, and take some of the load off on occasion as well. So the purpose of today, though, we'd like to recognize two individuals who have been outstanding in our community, hence the Award of Excellence, two community members. And along with Betty and myself, we also have Mary Ann Hamilton, who's a commission member as well. And we're going to turn the time over to her to introduce our first award.
Thank you, John.
Good evening, Mayor Pike and City Council members.
Good evening.
It's a huge, huge pleasure and honor to be here this evening. I'm so excited to give out this first Award of Excellence. Here are a few things you may not know about Del Parson. If Del had lived out the fantasies of his youth, he would have become a professional bull rider. By the time he graduated from high school in Rexburg, Idaho, where he grew up, he'd never taken an art class. But his father was an art professor at Ricks College, so it was inevitable that the visual arts and education would someday be a part of Del's life. When he became a freshman at Ricks College, he planned to earn a degree in animal biology. But then he secretly joined the college rodeo team, and he was asked to paint a sign advertising an upcoming event. He quickly realized he had a talent for it. "I feel like art chose me as much as I chose it," he said, and indeed it did. What also chose Del was his faith at roughly the same time. Unclear about his future and struggling with his spirituality, he asked for a patriarchal blessing and received one. He was told that art would be a joy to him in his life and an asset, and that through art, he would teach the ways of the Lord to many. Del knew that art would be his calling, and after marrying his first love, Joycelle, and earning his Master's of Fine Arts degree from BYU, he settled into a successful career as a painter and as a devoted father to 3 beautiful children. But in 1978, unspeakable tragedy struck. An automobile accident claimed Joycelle and their oldest child, then just 5. From the depths of his despair, Del found solace in his faith. When I asked him about it, he said simply, "I had a very spiritual experience with that. I feel like I got really close to God and really felt his love." Throughout his grieving process, Del also felt that he needed to portray that love on canvas. And since then, he has painted thousands of images of Jesus Christ. Del was fortunate enough to emerge from his ordeal with a new sense of purpose and great joy in his work. He was equally fortunate to meet and connect with the wonderful Lynette. And 40 years later, they have enjoyed a deeply loving marriage and the joy of their blended family of 6 children. To this day, Del's faith continues to be the underlying focus of his work. "I always have an image of Christ in my mind, but it's elusive," he said. "I'm always searching for it." Del's pursuit of that image has resulted in masterpieces that have been exhibited at the Allied Artists of America, the National Academy of Design, the American Artists Professional League, and countless other shows. And he's created more than 200 paintings for the LDS Church. Here at home, his work is always in demand at the annual Sears Art Museum Gallery Show at Dixie State University, where Del has been a member of the College of the Arts faculty for 20 years. Excuse me. I've been blessed to be one of the models who worked for Del in his classes at DSU, and the care and respect that he showers on his models is unique and highly appreciated. I'm especially delighted to have a few of his cast-off sketches and pastels that he's done of me over the years, and those are in places of honor in my home. This is undoubtedly the only way I'll ever be able to afford an original Del Parson creation. So Del, on behalf of the St. George Arts Commission, it's my extreme honor to present to you our Excellence in the Art Award for 2018, If ever there were art that is divinely inspired, it's yours. Congratulations.
And I believe you'd like a couple words to say before we have Summer Robertson come down. So,
I would just like to say that giving Candy this arts award, mainly for her poetry is beautiful and I love it, but mainly for the love of my life, which is modern dance, is a great honor. She's a dear friend, and her talent and beauty has graced so many of our children and all of us over the years, and she is a beautiful friend too as well, so I just want to say that.
and Summer's involved with the dance community quite a bit, so come on down and be very apropos.
Okay. Hi, guys. I'm here. Oh, he's over here. I'm like, what? Okay. Well, I am honored to be here today. Let me just get this going. Yeah, it's an honor to be here today to talk about the person who introduced me to the art form of dance, which has become my life passion. Candy Fowler embodies a joy in movement, is a powerful poet, and a keeper of innocence. She grew up in Granger, Utah, graduating as a Sterling Scholar in English, and was Utah's junior miss. As a child, she performed in the Children's Dance Theater with Virginia Tanner at the University of Utah. This is a photo of Virginia Tanner's dance instructional record made for the National Endowment of the Arts. Candy is the dancer on the cover. She was just 11 years old. The photo was shot when she performed at the Seattle World Fair, and they airbrushed her long hair and made it shorter for this photo cover. As a young dancer, Candy performed in the Seattle World's Fair and had the experience of working with great dance pioneers such as Doris Humphrey, Merce Cunningham, Jose Limon, Robbie Woodbury, RDT, and Bella Lewitsky. She spent her childhood winters skiing the slopes of the Wasatch Front and her summers at Puffer Lake in the Beaver Mountains of southern Utah. Here's a picture of Candy as a little girl at Puffer Lake with a fish she just caught and cleaned. She attended the University of Utah as a presidential scholar majoring in modern dance with a minor in English. She taught children's dance classes at the U. In 1969, while dancing in college at the University of Utah Dance Department, Bill Evans, Candy's former teacher and a member of the Repertory Dance Theater, recommended her to some photographers who wanted to do a dance shoot at the old Salt Air Resort. It was but a ghost resort then and rebuilt years later. This is a photo shoot at Salt Air, and this is Candy Fowler dancing. Here's another of Candy. In 1977, Candy moved with her family to St. George, Utah. She was an adjunct professor of modern dance at Dixie College for 5 years. In 1982, she turned to children's dance because she wanted to teach her daughters, Katie and Betsy, the same joy in movement that she had known. And they're pictured here. The studio started small, and in just 3 months grew to 45 students, then 75, and once it hit 200, then 300, she moved from her home studio and became a part of continuing education at Dixie College. This is a photo taken at the Dance and Children International World Conference, where Southwest Dance Theater performed as concert presenters the piece Jubilation and the Benjamin Britten Ceremony of Carols. She has successful students. This is Angie Scano-Kirchhausen, who went on to dance with Ballet West. Her student Melissa McDonald received both an academic and dance scholarship to the University of Utah. After graduation from the University of Utah, Melissa became a principal dancer with the Riley Woodbury Dance Company. Here's me as a girl. Here's me as a young girl studying at Southwest Dance with Candy Fowler. I went on to dance with Michael Mao and Avila Weeks in New York City and got my master's in dance at Columbia. Her daughter and student, Katie Fowler Smith, received a dance scholarship to BYU. She auditioned for and was selected for the BYU Dancers Company, touring the US, South Africa, the Philippines, South Korea. She's also featured in the film adaptation of the Virginia Tanner production of Woman the Pioneer. Katie graduated with a degree in dance performance from BYU. And now, this is Katie. She continues her mother's legacy. The school is still growing strong today. It's still going strong under the artistic direction of her daughter, Katie, and owned by Denise Crozier. Here are some pictures of Candy's granddaughters and children of alumni that she taught, whose own children are now studying today at Southwest. The studio is still thriving, and these are pictures that were just recently taken. A lot of the current faculty at the studio were once students of Candy. And they're all continuing the tradition. Candy has developed modern creative dance classes that focus on the development of the whole child. Through movement exploration and in-depth technical instructions, dancers reach progressive levels of physical skill development, exploring creativity and the imagination of childhood. Dancers have the opportunity to engage in creative problem solving and grow in cognitive, social, and emotional ways. The space created for these children to explore is magical and safe, and why Candy is referred to as a keeper of innocence by the Desert News. For years, Candy produced highly acclaimed dance plays. Her work has been featured in the Salt Lake Tribune and Desert News. Among her favorite concerts are The Fall of Freddie the Leaf, Blessed by the Light, the Benjamin Britten Ceremony of Carols, and Dream Spinners. Candy established the dance program at the Tuacahn Center for the Arts. She also worked with the architect in designing the dance studio. She served on the Utah Arts Council. Her poetry has won both state and national levels. She was awarded second place in the prestigious Utah Division of Arts and Museum 2014 Original Writing Competition. She is a member of the Dixie chapter and the Red Rock Writers. She recently won all 4 categories of the National Chaparral Poetry Forum. In 2015, Candy was named Utah Poet of the Year with her winning manuscript, On a Road That Knows Me. The book was published and released in 2015, and it has been referred to as poetry that cuts straight to the heart, a fierce collection with sharp edge. Here are photos that were taken with alumni students from Southwest Dance Theater and Candy's granddaughter after a book signing. Whoa, it's skipping forward on me. Whoops. Everything was going so smooth. Whoa. Well, I want to go back. I don't know why it's skipping forward on me. Okay. So these are also photos taken at a book concert at the Eccles Theater. Both her book concert and her book signings were sponsored by the Utah Arts Council and the Division of Arts and Museum. At this concert, Candy was awarded the Key to the City by John Pike. Whoops. Here, Candy is married to Bill Fowler. He's her greatest supporter and champion of all her artistic endeavors. And Bill and Candy have 4 children. From left to right, there's Betsy Rusin, Kip Fowler, Katie Smith, Matt Fowler, and if any of them are here today, would they please stand? Yay, these amazing kids. As a tribute and celebration to this wonderful woman who has taught so much to me, I've put together a whole evening of dance inspired by her book of poetry, and it will be narrated by Candy and performed by the St. George Dance Company April 13th at the Electric Theater. Candy's powerful poetry, joy and movement, and her school's Southwest Dance are woven into the St. George community and have impacted so many, many lives. And that is why we award Candy Lish Fowler the St. George Art Commission 2018 Award of Excellence in the Arts.
We'd like to invite all those right across the street at the Commons building, the old courthouse. There is a reception for the family and friends of the persons who won the awards. Thank you again. On with your business.
Thank you, John. Thank you to the St. George Arts Commission. And again, congratulations to both Candy Fowler and Del Parsons. Let's give them one more round of applause. You don't have to leave. I mean, they did. If probably food. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is, Joe. Because otherwise, they would stay here. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great way to start. We'll give them just a minute. All right. First of all, Adam, any changes to our agenda that you're aware of?
None that are not on that addendum that you've been given.
So what we'll do is we get to that point, we'll just, as we usually do, council, we'll fit those in from the addendum under their respective categories. You might know, if you don't have a hard copy, this is under 2 separate packets on your electronic copy. So for those of us on iPads, did they? Okay, we did, but they're also digital. So either way. Okay, very good. First thing up, I'll just start us off, Adam, the comments from the public. I have 2 submissions. Are there any others that have come to express comments of a general nature that are not related to anything on the agenda today? Okay, so the first one I have is Justin Phillips. If you want to come forward. And then after that, let's see, is it Jolene Jaster? Okay, so you'll be next. Justin.
Hey, good evening. Sorry about the squeak in the shoe on my way up here. But I guess today I'm representing Dixie State University, and more particularly within that system at the school, I'm representing X Club. And X Club is, among other things that we do, we're the service club that is in charge of taking care and maintaining the D on the hill. And so currently I serve as president of that club, and I guess at this point we wanted to bring forward to you a little bit of information of what's been going on that, mostly because we feel that in addition to being a school-owned plot of property, it's also a very large icon for the city in general, right? It's something that we all hold as beloved. So I guess the information first would be that we are repairing and doing some updates to the lighting system that we use up there. It's been a long time since the original one has been put in, and it uses a lot of energy. The main concern that was brought up for the lighting was that, as tradition holds every year in the spring, we light the D on fire. That's also in one of X Club's responsibilities, is to, not literally, but we use cans and things. But last year there was a huge windstorm that picked up, and we caught some bushes on fire on the hill. We were prepared for it with the proper safety precautions, but it did bring up some concerns for the fire hazard. So we began looking into ways that we can eliminate that, and also cut down on the use of energy to improve our efficiency with it. So what we've done is we've gotten together with Wilkinson Electric and others in the community to put together a process to improve the lighting system. And at the end of it all, it's a huge project. The D is a huge feature. It has tons of lights on it and lots of little variables that we're trying to take care of. So I guess when it was all said and done, we had a lot of support from guys like Wilkinson Electric and other distributors for electric supplies, and even with their support, our bill came in at nearly $15,000, and we have been working vigorously to decrease that. And I myself have put in tons of hours working on it. So first and foremost, we're here, or I am here representing the X Club to inform you on what we're doing, because we can't do anything as a school without the support from the community, and especially with just highlights like today and the people that we try to serve and we try to become, so that someday we'll be celebrated as well. But I guess again, first and foremost is the information about the project, so that you and the people of our community are aware. But second, a petition also, if there is a willingness to help. We are still $1,000 short, and we're running out of time before that annual tradition of lighting the D. So not that it can't be done. We've put in a ton of effort, especially starting at the beginning of this spring semester, to be able to pull off this project. It's something that we feel is really iconic of St. George and of the school as a whole. We appreciate your time and support throughout the years, as well as any support that is possible for this particular project. But
Okay. Well, thank you. We can certainly talk about that, and I can get with back with either you. I believe you emailed me as well.
I did.
Yeah, I saw that today. Or I'll get with you or with President Williams. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
appreciate it.
we're glad to have that as an iconic landmark. It's let's see, it's 102 years, almost 103 years old now, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, I believe it was 1915 that was the first year of the D on the Hill. I wasn't there. Ed, were you there? Oh, Joe, you were there? Okay. All right. We used to... Oh, it's a little D? That's good. I like it. I like it. Anyway.
Mayor, could I get some clarification? Do you need technical assistance? Do you have that covered, or is it just the
They're looking
financial
for money.
assistance that
The
you're
only
requesting?
assistance that we require at this point is financial assistance.
Okay.
Again, X Club itself has kind of taken on its shoulders the responsibility of fundraising and that sort of thing. We've had tons of amazing donors that have helped us out with this so far, and we thought that it would be appropriate to pose that question, as well as the information that we feel is your right to know. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, this is the kind of tradition that's really important to me, and I know probably everyone sitting here. I look out of my bathroom window in the middle of the night, and there is the D, and I, see it every night. Anyway, but it's very important to a community like this to have these symbols and to have the continuity of what that D stands for, and I think it would be really great if we could find our way clear to help them.
Good, we can talk about that. Again, did you say what you're looking for, what you're short, or thousand?
As of right now, the total that we are short, the entire deficit is only $1,000. The X Club continues to push for the next 2 weeks before they will need to, start actually replacing bulbs and some of the wiring and that sort of construction before the big events at the college. So, is it late notice for a group like you all? Maybe, but we still continue to do.
Perhaps we could be provided with a written list of what that contribution would cover, the actual improvements, and
Yeah.
what you need.
Yeah.
If you want to email it to me, then we can do that. We can talk about it in short order.
Okay.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Justin.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming. Thank you for what you're doing. Okay, let's see. And then it was Jolene. And I believe this was on the issue of possibility of expanding bus routes.
Good afternoon. My name is Jolene Jaster. I've been a resident of Bloomington Gardens for 2 years now, and I was wondering about the possibility of expanding the bus route to go from Walmart in Bloomington Gardens, a different route that would encompass more people. I first went to Suntran and talked to one of the employees there, and he said my next step would be to come here and requested a view. And he said that he would take a drive around Bloomington Drive and just see what would entail to have a bus go around Bloomington Drive over Tonnequint Drive and maybe catch the All Abilities Park and then go back to Dixie Drive and rejoin the route. This is of interest to me. I'm getting older, and right now I can drive, but I look to the future when maybe I can't. And I know that there's a lot of seniors in Bloomington in that area, and I think that it might be a big help to maybe the little old grandma that wants to take her grandchild to the All Abilities Park for the afternoon and back, and there's a lot of people that I'm sure that it might benefit. So I haven't done any groundwork yet, and maybe this is kind of premature to come here now, but I'm willing to take flyers around and ask people if they would be interested or if they would support the bus route going around Bloomington and over Tonnequint, and if that would be beneficial. I know the employee at Suntran told me that there aren't that many people that use the bus at the Bloomington Walmart right now, and I'm thinking that this might, increase the those that ride the bus. So.
Well, thank you. It's a little bit, in fact, something we talked about just last week, just a little bit in terms of trying to have the most efficient routes and stops, time frame between stops and those things. We actually did a study a couple of years ago now. Does that sound about right, Cameron? That where we looked at some efficiencies that we might be able to gain by making some changes. So certainly, we can look at that further. This specifically, it is a challenge for us, Jolene. I'll be straight with you. It's heavily subsidized by the federal government as it is. So we don't make any money on this service. We probably serve maybe 50% of the geography of the city. Does that sound about right, Cameron? Cameron's ultimately over the Suntran area. And so, there's a lot that we aren't, a lot of people's needs that we aren't meeting. It's just a matter of how do we do it financially. So I think, a year and a half ago, if I remember right-ish, we had a transportation and transit tax on the ballot that would have helped us to expand Suntran. That passed in the city, but it didn't pass in the county, so therefore it couldn't be implemented. That would have given us, I'm trying to remember, Cameron, it seems like it was around $1.5 million a year, close to that, that would have helped us to expand that. At this point, we don't have that option to do, but there is actually a transportation and transit bill before the legislature right now that has something to do with this. Depending on how that goes, we may be talking as a council about opportunities to expand our transit or forfeit that potential tax and let the state take it for their purposes. I don't think we would want to do the latter. So Sean and I have been working on that with the legislature. We'll see where that goes. We'll know in a week where that goes, and then we can talk more about it. So while there hasn't been a lot of change or movement in Suntran for the last few years, depending on how this legislation goes, there could be an opportunity for that, depending on what the council decides here in the coming, months, and it could be longer than that, depending on when it's made effective. Council, anything else you'd say? I mean, we're always looking for ways to try to help more people with Suntran, but it's true. Joe just made the comment, I think last week, that we'd like to see more ridership, and it's tough. Which comes first, chicken or the egg? And how much money can we subsidize, that service to build it? And I don't know. I think we're about there, in terms of what we can do without some further assistance one way or another. So I would just ask you to, you know how to find me, stay in touch. We live in Bloomington, same area, but and we can let you know what we learn in the coming, next week or two.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jolene. Okay, I didn't have any others, Adam, so if you want to take us through the rest of the agenda.
Absolutely. Next up is going to be the approval of the financial report for January of 2018. We've got Trevor Coombs, who's going to give a brief presentation to the council on our finances.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I believe you have in your packet our financial reports for January. This covers 7 months of the fiscal year 2018. Just to quickly go through it, maybe you've already had a chance to kind of review it. We're actually doing very well in our revenue collections. Typically this year you see about 58.33% collected of the budget. In the revenue category, we're exceeding that. In the general fund, we've collected 62.8% of the revenue. Some of the highlights there. In fact, it's kind of a nice graph. I think if you turn on your sheets, what page? It's page 11. It kind of gives you a bar chart and then a line graph of where percentage-wise where we're at or where we would be at. And you can see in the green categories, almost all of them are close to, or if not exceeding, where we are on the budget for the percentage of the year completed. Property tax has done very well. Obviously, that's one that we collect in December and January, the majority of that. Anything related to construction and building is done very well. You can see our building permits have already exceeded the total budget for the year, so we'll have to make some adjustments there and increase that projection on the revenue. But that kind of shows you a little bit of what we're being able to do and accomplish on that. If you drop down just to the graph below that, on the flip-flop side, our expenditures are been moderate. We're under where we're at on almost every category. There are exceptions, obviously. We had the elections, which you can see there has exceeded the budget, which is typical because we had our elections in November, and they typically will go through a majority of their budget at that time. There are a little bit of other outlining areas. Leisure services has done some improvements in parks and equipment purchases, so they're slightly over percentage-wise for the year completed, but generally speaking, we've done very well as far as being conservative on our spending related to the general fund. Just a little side note, just because it was brought up in the last discussion on, if you look at the Suntran collection and revenue compared to last year, which the data is on page 8, we're actually about $22,000 down what we were comparable last year in that. So like Mayor said, we haven't got some of the federal funding that we
we're anticipating, which makes it a little bit challenging in that Suntran, but we try and do our best to provide those services as best we can with funding available. Just anyway, wanted to highlight that since that was a current topic. Any questions for me?
Council, any questions? As always, we appreciate the detail, Trevor, and it's nice to see everything really in pretty positive shape, and appreciate the department heads, Adam, and the entire team for making it so, making good use of the citizens' tax dollars. So, do we have a? Thank you, Adam. Do we have a motion to approve if there are no questions?
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the financial report for January 2018.
Second.
I have a motion by Betty and a second by Michelle. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. We now have 5 bid openings for the council to consider. We're going to ask Brett and Scott to come present those to you.
All right,
Welcome, Brett.
Thank you. This first one's for the Bloomington Park restroom remodel. This one was a formal bid. We did get 3 bids on it, and we are requesting approval to award the bid to North Star Restoration in the amount of $370,000 or $370,515.
Any questions on this? It's always good to have multiple bids. Don't always get those. This is, as we, I believe, discussed, this is within the budget because we didn't do something else, right? The parking lot at Snow Park, I believe. So it's totally it's within the budget. Okay. Any questions, council?
I'll make a motion to award the bid to North Star Restoration for the Bloomington Park restroom remodel in the amount of $370,515.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Betty. Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, this next one, this is one we bid out every year. This is for the reuse center crushing operation. What they do is they gather together concrete and asphalt from construction companies, and once a year we bid it out to crush that into usable recycled material for us. This one was also formally bid. We got 4 bids, and we are requesting approval to award it to Western Rock in the amount of $110,450.
Questions on this? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the bid to Western Rock for the 2018 reuse center crushing operation of $110,450.
Second. Motion by Jimmy with a second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, this next one is a change order. This is for the Virgin River EWP Emergency Watershed Project. Feller Enterprises is the contractor on this one, and it was requested by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife to divert that channel, which is going to cost $68,000.
Questions on this? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the change order to the Virgin River EWP project in the amount of $68,000.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Taylor.
This item is for the Sunbrook well casing replacement. We did do a formal bid. There was only one bidder that submitted a bid for this project. The cost is actually, since there's one bidder, and the cost was a little high to us, so we were able to negotiate with that bidder and instead of using a steel casing to replace the existing casing, we're going to use a PVC casing, which reduced the cost quite a bit. So the amount is $329,373.60.
Able to do this within budget?
Yeah, it's over what we had budgeted, but we had
You'll
other
make it.
projects that we didn't do this year, so we do have the budget to cover it.
Very good.
I have a question, Scott. Going to the PVC, do we change the life of that at all, or do we know that?
Yeah, and
Good or bad?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, PVC lasts a lot longer in water than steel does.
All right.
Typically, we can't use PVC, but this is a fairly shallow well, so we're able to use PVC and save that money.
Beautiful.
Any other questions? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the Sunbrook Well Number 2 casing replacement for $329,373.60.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Joe. Any discussion? We got the 60 cents on there.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Good. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. The next
2E,
item,
yeah.
a change order to the Lizzie Lane Sewer Project. Ironically, the majority of this change order has nothing to do with the Lizzie Lane Sewer Project. But in our water distribution system, we have one area of town that right now, during the summer months, it gives us a little bit of problem. And that's the Little Valley area. There's a lot of growth out there, and no, well, depending on this change order, I guess. There's a lot of growth out there, and we're kind of waiting for the Sand Hollow Regional Pipeline to be extended to that area so we can tap onto it and provide another source of water in that area and alleviate our problems. But in the time being, that pipeline will not be extended this summer. So in the time being, we've, as part of this project, we would like to add a booster pump that'll force water from the north side of the Virgin River on River Road, force it into that area and provide additional capacity in that area to get us by for a few years. So out of that $113,500 or $658 change order, about $93,000 of that is for this booster pump for the culinary water. The other portion of that change order, the contractor on the north side of the bridge, he had to reroute one of our large irrigation lines, and in the process of doing that, we found out that line is not in very good condition, and we decided that it would be good to replace a section of that outside of or to the boundaries of where he will be replacing the trail. We don't want to have to come back in and have a leak there or a break there and have to take out part of the trail that he'll be replacing. So
About 150 feet.
yeah.
Where does that cross the bridge or cross the river?
Where does
The water line that you're talking about, where you're going to put the pump?
it'll be right now? You can see the foundation for the
Okay, so
structure
that
for
thing is being built right now.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that'll be our sewer line and water line will be
Right.
attached to that, and we'll put a deck on top of it for
Pedestrian bike, yeah.
Okay, then where are you building the booster pump? Where are you putting that? Is it just in line, or do you have to?
Yeah, and it's below
build it?
grade, so you won't even know it's there.
All right.
It's on the north side of the river, kind of right by the trail there.
Very good.
Scott, I get a lot of questions on the completion date on those projects down there on that park, and you.
So the
Sure that
completion
was-
date, we gave the contractor a little bit extra time for, in this change order. This change order changes the completion date to March 29th. So we've got about a month left on that project.
Did you say was it the steel coming for the
The-
bridge coming in the next couple weeks?
Yeah, probably within the next week.
Yeah. Very good.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the change order to the Lizzie Lane Sewer Project.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by Jimmy, just to clarify the amount, make sure we've got it correct.
$113,658.
Very good. Is that correct, Scott? That's what we have in our packet.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Scott.
Okay, next up, we have 3 public hearings and their associated ordinances, and Wes is going to take us through these.
We ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, item 3A is a request to consider vacating a portion of Desert Canyons Parkway approximately between 3700 East and 3900 East by reducing the width of the road on the north side. The public utilities and drainage easement will remain. So basically, this portion of the road was dedicated, not by a plat, by deeded dedication, and the anticipation was there is that multi-use trail that comes through here, and with that, they knew they were going to have double fronting lots that would require the 10-foot landscape strip, so that was to be located all within the public right-of-way. However, this is where the Bluffs development's going to come that we approved last council meeting. Anyways, they have a homeowners association within their development, and so they're vacating that 10-foot strip out of there as it will become common area to the homeowners association, and they'll maintain that. So basically, the vacation is of the 10-foot landscape strip to become common area.
Any questions, council, before I open the public hearing?
Wes, let me just ask, does that have an impact on the density, have any impact on this?
No.
Okay, then I will open the public hearing at this time for anyone who may have come to offer input or ask questions on 3A on our agenda. And seeing none, I'll come back to you, council, for your action if you're ready to act on this ordinance request.
Motion to vacate a portion of Desert Canyon Parkway between 3700 East and 3900 East by reducing the width of the road on the north side.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, item 3B is a request to consider vacating a portion of a St. George Power easement located in the Ledges development. And basically, so here's SR 18 right here. And basically, the yellow line is the area of the power easement. You can see how it's going to extend through part of their proposed development. And basically, it's just to vacate that portion of the power easement. This portion up here will remain for now. Until further time if they need to relocate it. But anyways, it's just to vacate that portion. Power was never, as I understand, was never really installed in that. It was an easement that was provided in case they needed to have power over here to the west side.
Sean, has legal had a chance to look at this? Yes. Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, then I'll open the public hearing for anyone who's come to offer input on this, 3B on our agenda today. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for your action on this ordinance.
Make a motion to approve, Mayor, the power easement vacation.
Okay. We have a motion by Ed. Do we have a second to vacate this portion of the St. George Power easement, as has been explained? Joe seconds the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 3C is a request to consider a name change of a public street located in the Ledges development.
Again, this is on the addendum, just for everyone watching or trying to. Okay. Go ahead.
The current street name is Winter Quarters Trail. The applicant is requesting the street name be changed to Fish Rock Drive. So if you look right here, blurs on you. Here's the Ledges development. They're requesting that road right here be changed to Fish Rock Drive. I have talked to the developers of the Ledges development. They're okay with the name change, as they'll just change their preliminary plat that's on the agenda today from Bristlecone to Fish Rock. They kind of wanted to have the road and the plat have the subdivision have the same name. Also, is with this is that item 6H. I don't know if you want to do both. The applicant is requesting to waive the $200 application fee. I believe he's expressed that in his packet, why he feels like why he's requesting the waiver of the $200 fee.
Okay. Council, any questions before we open the public hearing on this?
Who's Mr.
Mike,
Triptow and, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Who's Mr. Triptow and what is his relationship to the Ledges?
Wes?
He lives in the White Rocks development, and he also has a home up in, I think it's Dameron Valley, and I believe that there's a name up there similar to to Winter Quarters Trail, and his mail keeps getting delivered up to this other, and that's why he would like this change, so there isn't that confusion between this property and the property up in Dameron.
So although he's the applicant, the city staff is fully supportive of this?
Yeah, I mean, I went and talked because I wanted to make sure the developer was okay with the.
Yeah.
They've kind of been really, I don't know what the word is. They really like to name their streets how they want to name them, so that's why I went and talked to them about it, and they are okay with it.
Joe?
Yeah, I have a question now. S&S Homes has already started some homes or bought some of those lots.
Right.
So we talked to them and to the person preparing the ground.
I haven't talked to S&S. I just talked to Quality and just made sure that they were okay. But I can talk to S&S and.
Well,
make
they
sure.
own those lots apparently.
Yeah, they.
I
would
think
have
they
bought
need to
those
be,
lots.
I can't imagine they would not go along with that, but I think it needs to be done. Both of those have to approve that, I think.
Yeah. So I've talked to the Ledges development. I just haven't talked to S&S, and I will get with them.
I think you better, because they got 5 lots there.
Right. Right.
Jimmy doesn't think they'll care.
I have one other question. Is there a Fish Rock?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of their signature rock over here. If you ever drive up there, they have that big white rock that has kind of that. Have you seen that?
That's why they have the Fish Rock
Kinda have
Grill. And
Fish
Oh, yeah,
Rock.
they
That's
do.
where they got the name, the Fish Rock Grill, is they have that fish.
It looks like a fish
rock that
up
looks
there
like
on
a
I
the
wondered,
fish.
yeah, I didn't know there was a Fish Rock. So
Yeah.
I knew it associated with the grill, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
I think that's where he's coming up with that.
So Wes, the developer and the Ledges, they'll pay for all the street signs, any changes have to be made, I have to waive the fees?
You know, I didn't talk about that.
I believe
with
this
them.
was the application fee to have for the applicant to have the
Probably
name
so.
That's
change,
correct.
right?
That's later down on our agenda.
Okay, any other questions before we open the public hearing on the first piece of this? All right, then I'll open the public hearing for any who may have come to express input on this item, which is 3C on the addendum portion of our agenda.
Thank you for the time. I am the aforementioned Brian Triptow that filed this request. I do not live in Dameron Valley. I live on Winter Quarters Trail in the Ledges. I'm the only resident on the street at this time. S&S Homes is developing the other parcels. There's 5 parcels left. Each home on this street has a view of the Fish Rock. And by the way, it was Fish Rock Road, not Fish Rock Drive, that I requested. The reason I requested it is because I live on Winter Quarters Trail in the Ledges. And FedEx, UPS, Boulevard Furniture, and Dixie Movers keep going to Dameron Valley to deliver my furniture, parcels, etc. And a friend of mine from Salt Lake asked me the other day, what were you thinking? And I said, I didn't know there was a Winter Quarters Trail in Dameron Valley. And I didn't think that St. George City was aware of that either. So I put in the request just to eliminate the confusion, number one. Also, every home on this street has a spectacular view of the Fish Rock. Also, let me get my train of thought here. I made sure I wrote down a few items here. I've spoken with Craig Sullivan from S&S Homes. He is fine with the idea. In fact, he signed the form when we prepared the packet for this. He thought it was a good idea. I spoke with Logan Blake from the Development Solutions today, and he said that they were fine with us using Fish Rock Road. They wanted to use it further down at 3700 North, where that interchange is going to go in. But when I spoke to him today, he admitted that you can't see the Fish Rock from down there. So he seemed to think that it was fine that we did this. But the main reason is I was concerned about emergency services being confused if there was an issue up there. And right now is the perfect time to change it because I'm the only permanent resident there, and S&S is working on the other homes, as I stated. And we should change it before anybody else moves in and is confused. Since I'm up here, I could address why I asked for a waiver on the fee. I felt like St. George City would have a vested interest in making sure that emergency services got up there without confusion with Dameron Valley. There is a street, there are 2 street signs that need to be changed up there. I didn't know if St. George City wanted to pay for those as well as the initial fee, but I felt like my part as the first resident was to identify the issue and then allow St. George to do your part as far as public services. And so I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to the council.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the name change.
Question.
Oh, excuse me, Joe. Go ahead.
It's okay.
You can go ahead and make the motion
Yeah.
if you want, and if there's a second, then we'll have comments.
Name change at the Ledges from Winter Quarter Trail to Fish Rock Road, and the waiving of the fees.
Probably need, do we need to do that separately since it's listed separately? So just the first.
Okay.
And Betty
Second.
makes the second. So motion by Ed, second by Betty. Now discussion, Joe?
Okay, Sean, apparently there's an application that's filled out, and if Craig Sullivan has signed that, maybe we don't need to go back to him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if he's talked to him already and he's signed it, then we've got his.
Yeah.
The other S of S&S Homes just said yes.
Okay, yes.
James, I just texted him. He
Okay.
said yeah.
All right.
He preferred Fish Rock Trail. No, I'm kidding. It's road, right? No, it's road.
It's road is what he was
Road.
requesting. Any other comments or on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor. Let's see, this is an ordinance. So all in favor, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Now, because we're there, I think we could go to the other item,
Yeah, that would be good. That's item H on our staff reports in the addendum.
6H. Oh, yes, right there. Okay, do we have a motion by any on the council to waive the fee for changing the name of the public street?
Motion to waive the $200 fee for this name change for the reasons described by the applicant.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And we'll get right on that. Okay.
All right, there are no scheduled resolutions for tonight, so we'll get into our staff reports, and we're going to begin with the Planning Commission report, and Wes and Ray are going to tag team on that one.
Item 1, public hearings be advertised for March 15th. There's 3. First one reads, consider a zone change on 2.63 acres to go from open space to planned development commercial to develop a self-storage facility with 168 units called Pioneer Storage, generally located on Pioneer Road. Next, item B, consider a zone change request on approximately 19.5 acres to change the zoning from A1 agricultural to R110 for future development of Crimson Meadows subdivision, generally located at approximately 1600 South Street along 3000 East. Item C, consider a zone change request on approximately 2.4 acres to change the zone from open space to C2 highway commercial. This would be a cleanup zoning for Innovative, generally located at 511 South Airport Road. Applicant is Innovative Property Holdings and representative is Rosenberg. Those are the 3 items requested to be heard March 15th.
I would make a motion that we advertise the public hearings for March 15th for items 1A, 1B, 1C as presented from the Planning Commission report.
Second.
We have a motion by Joe with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a question on, since this, the last one, the top 1A was storage, ask a question of Sean. The temporary ordinances on storage units, how long will that be in effect?
Well, until we get our new zoning ordinances in place, or 6 months, but we'll have it done before that. So the current temporary ordinance will apply to this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Ray?
The next item on the Planning Commission report is item 2, conditional use permit. It's also the same as item 6B in the City Council agenda, so I'll go ahead and present that. And it's a request to construct a headworks building at the wastewater treatment plant, which would be over 35 feet in height.
Scott's really nervous about us saying no on this one, Council.
Here's an aerial for the public just to show.
He doesn't have a good track record of keeping them up at 35 feet, I might add.
That's true. No one got it.
Only he gets
Yeah.
it, that's it.
Remember the roof that caved in?
Yep.
It was the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Ray, go ahead.
You lost me there, but I remember the roof caving in now. So this is just an aerial showing a wastewater treatment plant. This is location. And this is a site plan showing future phases of development, phase 1, 2, and 3. And what's on the subject tonight is what's in red here, a new headworks building. And just FYI, there's another building, UV disinfection facility that's also proposed. But that's not covered by the conditional use permit because it's less than 35 feet. So this is a good perspective showing the wastewater treatment, and right here as you're coming down a road, entering into the facility would be the headworks new building. The zoning is shown, open space, and general plan. And again, basically this is a building. And it's the headworks. There's a description of it on the first page of the staff report. And it's a building that has different filtration devices for removing a lot of, I believe, contaminants and such, plastic and other items. Scott can elaborate on that. But close-up of the building. And basically, this shows one end is 45 feet here. This might be a foot or two more, but really the overall height, if you look at it, is basically 43 feet. And I just threw this in, the other building that's being proposed, and that's at 23 feet. So you're really just looking at the headworks building. The bottom photo shows a picture from the golf course looking out towards the wastewater treatment. The white arrow on top is showing it superimposed, and feel that it wouldn't be very noticeable from a distance. And these were just photos going into the treatment plant, just for reference. Other than that, that concludes staff's comments. Planning Commission does recommend approval. It is a conditional use permit, so in the staff report you have findings on page 2 and 3, and the one that is highlighted is item G for height, if you approve it at approximately 45 feet. That concludes staff's comments.
Any questions, Council? We're aware of this project and the needs behind it. Scott's presented to us in work meetings. Ready for a motion if there are no questions.
Motion to approve the conditional use permit to the wastewater treatment facility for a building that exceeds 35 feet in height.
Second.
Motion by Michelle. I'm going to give the second to Betty. Any discussion on the motion?
Just in case it persuades your vote, it will have a golf course view. The
True.
headworks will.
It's a good point.
Even in St. George, the sewer plant has a golf course view.
And,
awesome.
and a river. The river runs through it. Well, not through it, but
The river
close by.
runs through it.
All, kind of. It's a little different, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. One more step down the road, Scott. Okay, final plats. Is that right?
Three.
So item 3A is a request to consider approval of a 5-lot commercial subdivision final plat called City View. Representative is Bush and Gudgel. Property is located between Main Street and, between St. George Boulevard, Tabernacle Street, and also between Main Street 100 West, Zone of C4. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of preliminary plat. So here's your 5 lots. Here's lot 1, where I believe the proposed hotel would go. Lot 2 would be the apartment building. Lot 3 is a private lot. Lot 4 is the other apartment building. And then lot 5 is this lot right here. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, this would eventually go back to the city as it's kind of a public access way from Boulevard down to Tabernacle. And then most of the utilities were obviously put in lot 5 as well.
Sean, any comments on this? We all clear and
Yes, there, and the applicant will speak, but, and we've spoken with the applicant before the meeting. What we'll need to do on this plat is to make sure that Lot 5, which is that walkway that they were going to build and transfer back to the city, according to the agreement, on this plat, they're going to transfer to the city. We need that shown on the final plat. There's also some changes that we need on the owner's dedication of the plat. They're aware of that, and so they'll make those changes too. And just making it clear that the CC&Rs that they've submitted for the project will not apply to the city's Lot 5, where that walkway will be built.
And so this, if the council makes a motion on this, it would be subject to legal approval, just to make sure that's all documented?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, council? Nice to get to this point. Matt, do you have anything you'd like to say? I don't know that we need to. We see work going on, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, then I'd entertain a motion, council, if you're so inclined.
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for City View, subject to the legal review and approval.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Matt.
Mayor, if I can quickly, I think it's worth noting that we are currently reviewing the design for that corridor. Is that right, Sean? And we'll bring that back to the council for review.
Very good.
For that lot 5. For lot 5, right.
I think it should also be noted that Mr. Hanson and Mr. Lenhard know each other from a few years past, and they just figured that out earlier this week, maybe. I don't know. So, anyway.
Kind of similar haircuts, you know, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Wes.
Okay, item 3B is a request to consider approval of a 23-lot residential subdivision final plat called the Villas at Sun River, St. George, Phase 5. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at Arrowhead Canyon Drive and Grayson Drive. Zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is located right here, Sun River Parkway. Interchange is right over here. Here's Arrowhead Canyon Drive, and this, so it's at the corner of Arrowhead and Sun River Parkway. This area here contains a landscape strip and that the association will own and maintain, or will maintain, and then the trail that runs through here would be a public trail that the city would then maintain.
We like that,
Yeah, it'll work out.
don't we?
We're
We'll
gonna have
maintain the
some trees.
trail. Yeah.
You're going to have some trees in that, aren't you?
Pardon?
There are going to be some nice trees in that.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be really nice
Yeah.
landscape.
This isn't exactly related, but Wes, are you aware if the developers still plan to have this be a partially short-term rental?
They have not changed. It hasn't changed since they came through with their zone
Okay.
change. So I'm anticipating yes.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Ready for a motion?
Make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Okay,
The
we-
villas at Sun River, as articulated by Wes.
We have a motion by Ed and a second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Preliminary plats. 4A on the Planning Commission agenda.
Okay, so item 4A is request to approve a preliminary plat for a 3-lot commercial subdivision called Kenworth Commercial Subdivision. Site is located northeast of Exit 2 at the Old Welcome Center. Number of lots is 3. Zoning is PDC. General plan shows this employment as part of the Atkinsville Master Plan. Applicant is Alliance Consulting. So here's I-15. The interchange is down here to the south. These are the 3 lots. This is where the Kenworth building would be built. They'll be required to build your favorite road, Astragalus Drive, through here, through this lot, and then they're proposing to build it up to that access here. This portion, they've said that they'll probably request to do a delay improvement agreement for that portion until at such time as this road ever extends through as a frontage road up at least to the Hidden Valley area.
If they were to sell that top piece, whatever lot that is,
Mm-hmm.
then someone would have to finish that road.
Yeah, and again, I think even if they were to develop it, they would probably request that delay agreement because the road goes to nowhere and it
Yeah.
would just sit there. And so I think they would request that till at such time that road extends up at least to the Hidden Valley areas, that frontage road.
Thank you. That may be not my life.
No, we'll see. The way things are going.
There is a fair amount of infrastructure. This here is the sewer line. They actually have to take the sewer and bore under I-15 over into Sun River just to get the sewer because they couldn't gravity feed back to the south to get the line that's already there. So it's a fairly expensive project to do that.
Any other questions, council? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the preliminary plat, Kenworth Commercial Subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Ed. Any discussion?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So because it's on the preliminary plat, we want to make sure we get everything on there. Could the motion include that they will enter into a delay agreement so they do not have to complete that portion of the roadway? And then right now, so they'll only have to complete 32 feet of that roadway, right?
Yeah, and it'll actually end up being, I think, a little bit less because they want to hold with what's been done before with a median in the middle. So
Right.
it'll probably squeeze down a little bit just to account for that median within that 32 feet.
So I think you want to note that in your motion too, so.
Then I also have a question
Yeah, since you brought that up now.
Yeah. So when they drill under that road, under the freeway, then we'd still have a line from lot 2 that would have to go up where the road's supposedly going to be?
So sewer for lot 1 and 2 would tie into that that sewer
Yeah.
line and go up that way,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
Okay.
requiring this. And I believe even lot 1 would require that. They're trying to work with Sitla. Sitla has, as part of the South Block area, has a couple parcels here that would sewer into that. And so they're trying to work out how to have them help participate in that cost.
So Jimmy, would you be willing to
Yeah.
update
Mayor,
your motion?
I'll go ahead and amend the motion to include the delayed development agreement on the road and make note of that. And what was your other problem?
The smaller width, now we had 32 feet, you say it might be to the median,
Yes.
so let's just say to the median,
To
so
the
they don't have to
median.
finish any more than
Right.
that. Wouldn't make sense for them to do that.
Perfect, to the median.
And Ed,
Yes.
is that okay? Okay, so we have the revised motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 4B is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 2-lot commercial subdivision called Innovative Property Holdings. Site is located at the old airport along Tech Ridge Drive at approximately 500 south. Property is 2.4 acres. The zoning is C2. General plan shows this is commercial. So these are the 2 lots right here. This is where the, I know I never eat there because it's too expensive for me. Cliffside Inn, yeah. The Cliffside Inn is right here, and then you do have this existing sewer line that comes through here. That will have to be, they'll have to provide a 30-foot easement on that sewer line. But then I believe this is more for parking associated with that. Is that correct?
Yes, on this one here, there are smaller portions of city property, if you remember, where their pool is right now and some other parcels. that were included in a previous agreement that we have, that we're now going to consummate that sale, but that also will include that lower portion there. I forgot how much we've reduced that too, but it's for their parking lot. In that area, they're buying right there along the edge. We told them we would sell to them on the condition that they not go vertical on it. Now, there is a little portion, do you know where they have the little shed overhang on the side? We said that we would let them put a building in that area there and close that portion there. So we'll show that in our, on the final agreement that we do with them. And they will be able to go vertical there, but everything else they cannot go vertical on. It'll just be for their parking. So I've got a number of things here we'll have to include in the agreement, but, I mean, in the motion.
So you're saying the bottom portion I would call the bottom, that would be south.
Right. I would say south.
That whole place, they could not go vertical on it?
That's right, on the edge there, right?
Okay, on the edge. That was what I was trying to get to, because at one time when we first talked, there was going to be some restriction. They have to be so far from the edge to do anything.
Well, on this piece here, because that was part of what was planned to be a park, the ring park along there, the council agreed to sell that to them, but they could not put a structure on there because it would be visible from below.
Okay.
And we're still not sure exactly the final alignment there with new development going in, but it'll be pretty close. We've got that nailed down on the frontage there.
Okay.
So, and they've agreed to that, and of course the price that they're, and that escapes me right now, but we factored that into the price that they're purchasing the property for. Something the current developers up there are also looking at too, saying they want to protect that view over there on the edge. And if you walk it, by the way, spectacular view just right up U18.
It's going to be fantastic.
It really is a great place. So our park planners are already making plans to have a little trail going along that edge there and have some places to sit right next to the restaurant in that parking area. So, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to list the conditions right here.
I think
right
we
now.
better.
Okay. First is a cross-access and cross-parking agreement. It would be with themselves so that those parcels could never, if they were sold off, as you see, there's 2 parcels there, that they would still have the parking for both parcels. No structure or building on the designated area that's being purchased by the city. We'll do that by a restrictive covenant. That will have the public utility easement that was mentioned here for the sewer line, and also a public trail easement that will go along a portion of that property on the edge. And we've agreed that we will improve that trail and we'll landscape that area there along their parking lot. That relieves them of the responsibility of landscaping along that parking lot in accordance with our orders on the back side there. We'll take care of that.
Does that trail easement need to be shown on the plat? Should we have put that on there?
We'll talk to Victoria on that. I think we can just move this plat along and just, because we still have to do the sale, at the closing we can make sure the easement is recorded. And then they'll have to give back to us a roadway easement, as everyone else will. We're selling them actually a good chunk of their parking lot that is part of our property right now. And with the new alignment of the roadway, they'll just have to agree to improve that with curb and gutter. And we're going to say just, Victoria said footpath. We didn't want to say sidewalk yet because our trails people are thinking that they might want to continue the asphalt theme of the trail, so people will feel like they're following a trail along that and then going further down the hill where it kind of bumps out again. If there's any additional cost on that, then we'd pick up that cost, but I don't think there would be for that asphalt. So they're looking at kind of aesthetically, but they would have to participate what it would cost in putting a sidewalk in, as they'd be required to do. Any extra cost would be ours.
It's kind of a win-win for the city.
Yep. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plat for Innovative Property Holdings with the conditions stated by legal.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That'll be good. Really nice to get that cleaned up. Thank you, Sean, and to the HERS and their attorney for helping get all this done. We're almost there. Almost.
Okay, item 4C is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 12-lot residential subdivision and I know it's listed as Bristle Cone Phase 1, but with the change in that roadway, they'd like to change it to, with the change in the roadway name, then they'd like to change this to Fish Rock Phase 1 is what they're now requesting. Site is located at approximately 1400 West and Ledges Parkway. Property is 6.1 acres. Density is 1.97 dwelling units per acre. Zone is PDR. This is part of the overall Ledges Plan development. Applicant is Development Solutions Group, and the representative is Logan Blake. So this is it right here, these 12 lots. This is Ledges Parkway right here. If you look here on your map, here is SR 18. Here's the interchange, so you have to come back south to get to this part right there.
Questions, council? Remember that this is now going to be called Fish Rock Phase 1.
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Fish Rock Phase 1.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4D is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 65-lot residential subdivision called Fire Pit Knoll Phases 1 through 4. Site is located approximately 1400 West and Ledges Parkway. Property is 17.1 acres for a density of 3.8 dwelling units per acre as part of the overall Ledges development. Applicant is Development Solutions Group. So the last one we approved is right here, the Fish Rock one. They are just to the, I'm going to say east of that one, a little south and east. They are, this will be the extension of Ledges Parkway, which is their major road up there. They are requesting that these interior roads be constructed as private streets, and the reason being is they would like the 20-foot on a private street, your front setback can go down to 10 feet. They're requesting 20 feet. From a public street, it has to be 25. That's why they're requesting that these be private streets. They did say they would build them to a city standard, at least to a 45-foot roadway. In the event that if it ever changes, these could then be dedicated back to the city if the ordinance ever changes. They also will build all of Ledges Parkway except for the sidewalk on the south side. They'll hold off building that until they see what happens to their development here on the south side.
Questions?
Clarify the private streets.
So the private streets would
I know what you're saying, but is that because we've done private streets there, or is it just so
They
can
do
get
have
a-
private streets within. Most of them, to be honest with you, are on that west side. I'm not sure if we have some up in the Escapes, which is right through here, but that was kind of considered, they were townhomes and they were short-term rentals.
Right.
And that's why they're requesting that here. They're
I have a little challenge with private streets.
Well, and we have talked about that before. I think the issue's just been, like with Sun River, we've allowed it because they've had them before.
And Sun River has wanted to exclude the public from some of those. Here's, in the Ledges, we've had some good discussions with quality on the development, and we're looking at this in redoing Title 10, and that is, if we believe that a community of this nature looks fine, then why wouldn't we have a zone where, why wouldn't we just make them public streets? We'll take care of the sewer, and we're going to take care of the water lines. Why not? And we're making them build them to current city standards as far as how the road is constructed, which was a problem with private streets before. Right. So if we're doing all of that, why not just go ahead and in our ordinance allow for those to be public roadways and be done with it now? If an HOA came in and said, and some of them do, we want to exclude the public out of here and we want to be able to post it private, then that might be a discussion that you'll want to have. And we're going to have that, right, John, when we start talking about these rewrites. But because quality came to us, we had a really good discussion on that. We're going to propose that to you all. Now, if they have amenities in there, they're going to need to take care of those amenities. They still could take care of their yards. For example, off of 100 North between Valley View and Dixie Drive, there's the HOA, the PUD that's on that public, on Westridge. The rest of the PUD is internal and has private roadways. Same thing with Lakota off of Sunset, off of Snow Canyon. Yeah, I should know that road. Off of Snow Canyon. The main public road there still looks like the same HOA and PD. It has the houses close together and they're all lined up. It looks fine. So why not just go ahead and move them to public roadways, make sure that we have the sidewalks on both sides, that we think we need all of those things, but maybe allow for more units like this, and the HOA itself can take care of all their yards like they normally do, and the amenities that they might have, a pool or clubhouse.
So if that's an HOA, will they be responsible for the upkeep of those private roads?
That's right, but I think that's why Wes stated that they're constructing the roads in a way, they're setting these back in a way that we could, if we change our ordinance, we could take over those roadways and feel good about it because we've inspected the construction of those roadways. And
I'm
know
more
that
worried
those
about the condition of them 20 years from now.
Right. So we're hoping, if you all agree, that this change will come quickly and they can make that change up there if they'd like to.
So
Get
Sean, it's
those.
not just the road maintenance, it's the sewer lines that are going to be maintained by the city and the water?
And we've been doing
We
that with
already
the
would.
current HOAs
Right.
under the agreements we have to bring them up to our standards. And so, why not take care of those roadways and then eliminate that? And it's a concern that will come up to the council over and over again in future years on these private roads anyway. So, yeah, it makes more sense, doesn't it? I mean, that's what we were hoping you would say.
Yeah. And there's no short-term rentals in here, just to clarify.
No. And these roads will also have the width that the city requires, and like Sean was saying, sidewalks on both sides. So they're setting it up to become a public street in the event that if the ordinance passes, then they could just transfer and be dedicated as public roads.
Good discussion. Any other questions? All right. Given what we've just talked about, are we ready for a motion?
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the preliminary plat for Fire Pit Knoll phases 1 through 4. Is that correct? Mr. Triptow, at least you don't live on Fire Pit Knoll.
We have a motion by Jimmy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ed. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, that brings us to item 6C, and as you know, it's time to update our water and sewer capital facilities plans and impact fee facilities plans. And so this item asks the council to consider approval of a professional services agreement with Bowen Collins and Associates for those. The last time that we did the sewer plan was in 2010 and water in 2011. So this time around, we're asking the consultant to combine water and sewer into a single plan, and for the first time, we're going to add secondary irrigation into that.
Excellent.
So staff would recommend the approval of this professional services agreement to Bowen Collins and Associates.
This is important, council, as we've, I think, talked about due to all the development, future development on the South Block, Southern Parkway. In terms of that, I mean, it's important for lots of reasons, but the secondary irrigation portion is important because of that.
Yes.
Any discussion or questions? Otherwise, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the professional services agreement with Bowen Collins and Associates for the culinary water, secondary irrigation, wastewater collection, and wastewater treatment capital facilities plan and impact fee facilities plan updates.
Second.
Motion by Betty.
Sorry, for $145,106.
Okay, Ed. Motion by Betty with the second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, the next item is for a Class A beer license for Target at 275 South River Road. This is Class A, so packaged beer for off-premise consumption, and it meets all the requirements of our ordinance, and staff would recommend approval.
Questions, council?
They've been doing a lot of remodeling in there, so really updating that. So.
Yes, they have.
My wife complained she couldn't find what she was looking for, so we hope it gets done pretty
Well, there you go. Now they're going to have beer, so she'll find what she's looking for.
She'll be okay.
That's what Joe was looking for.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Okay, motion to approve the Class A beer license for Target.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Our next item is for a contract for design services for a detention basin. We're going to have, Cameron, are you taking this one? My note said Jay, but I see Cameron coming up, so.
Jay knows more about it, a lot more than I do, but I wanted to mention really quick, show the area on a map. If I can grab this really quick. So it's in the Middleton area. It's a area where we have historically had. It's actually on some floodplain mapping. I'm going to turn that on. The 100-year. Okay, so if you can see this area, here's Colorado Drive, and then 2050 East, and it's this area right here that we're talking about as a proposed detention basin. I don't know, can you see that okay on the, maybe you can't, or can you?
Yeah.
So our plan, our hope is to create some flood control facility in here, some drainage detention basin, and then redo some piping that gets it over to here in the hopes that we can, number one, protect the homes with from flooding, but in the long run we hope to actually redo the mapping, because currently some of those homes, if they have a mortgage on their home, they're paying flood insurance, and it's upwards of a couple $1,000s a year. And so if we can redo that and then do some submitting of the floodplain mapping to FEMA, we may be able to take some of that out depending on what kind of structures and how much room we have up there that will eventually protect their homes but also save them some yearly costs. So the design agreement with Bone and Collins, it's just under $50,000. You can see that in your packet, but that's what the design, or the design of the facility is with for the contract, the professional services agreement, and then we may come back later and just submit, have them maybe do a contract modification to do some mapping for us to be able to submit that to FEMA. But that's what the professional services agreement's for.
Okay, so as at the first part, they have the idea that we're trying to change FEMA as they make their consultations on it.
So the design is for the drainage facilities,
Right.
the detention basin, and our hope is to then do a map afterward, as long as the capacity and everything is there in the detention basin, that we can redo the mapping and submit that to FEMA.
So that 49,000, that's just design.
That's the design of the drainage facilities, and it includes the piping coming out of there.
Okay.
Any other questions, council? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve a contract for design services for a detention basin with Bone and Collins in the amount of $49,588.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Let's see. That was E.
Any appointments tonight?
No appointments.
And no reasons for a closed session. So that would
Correct.
take us to the three items on staff reports in the addendum, I, J, and K. All three of those are water related, and we'll have Scott come up and take us through those last three items.
Scott, you might feel really good at the end of this meeting, huh? Get a lot done. Yeah.
Whenever irrigation shares become available to purchase in any of the irrigation companies that we have shares in, we like to purchase those shares to be able to expand our irrigation system in the future. So we have an opportunity to purchase 15 shares in the St. George Valley Irrigation Company. So the first would be an agreement to purchase those shares, those 15 shares, in the amount of $33,000 total. Do you have any questions about the shares, or?
Seems like a good idea to me. Council, any questions?
Who else still owns shares in that?
Yeah.
There's a couple.
Are there?
Jimmy wishes
the
he
city
did.
is by far the majority shareholder in that company. These are shares that an individual has had for some time, and I believe they've developed the property that were associated with those shares in the past, so they're not being used at this time.
So we actually buy them from the irrigation company, but they belong to somebody else and they get the money?
Yeah, we don't purchase them from the irrigation company.
Okay.
their shares in the company, but the stock is owned by an individual, so we're
Good.
purchasing from that individual.
So that helps the city to keep some control over our water resources.
Say that again?
So that helps the city maintain some control and
Yeah.
over our water resources, which is critical
Yep,
to us.
exactly. And these shares will, that irrigation company, we use that water in that company to irrigate a lot of the downtown large irrigation users like the cemetery, the parks, Dixie State University, a lot of the schools in the area.
Great.
So they're not retired, they're actually
They're active
used.
shares, yep.
Okay.
Good
Ready for a
questions.
motion?
Yeah, ready for a motion?
Motion to approve a purchase and share agreement for 15 shares of stock in the St. George Valley Irrigation Company in the amount of $33,000.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
This next item is consider approval of a professional services agreement for the design of the Gunlock Water Treatment Plant. This has been a long time in the making. We finally have
Jimmy.
the plant site secured from BLM. And it's taken
you
quite
believe
a process to get to that point, but we've got the site secured. Now we want to pull the trigger on the design of the plant. The design will take probably the remainder of this year. We're hoping about this time next year to start construction of that water treatment plant. We want to talk about both items, both this and the MOU.
Yeah.
Talk about them both and take them separate.
Yep.
So, the Washington County Water Conservancy District, they're looking at building an identical plant over in the Sand Hollow area.
To treat
Some of the groundwater there that has arsenic in it as well as magnesium.
Magnesium, yeah.
So, in talking with the district and working with the district, we decided that it would be in both of our best interests to combine these or treat them as one combined project. There will be we will realize some cost savings by having one engineer design both treatment plants. They're so much similar. In fact, they're identical, so there's quite a cost savings there, as well as we anticipate if we bid them as one project, even though we could have two separate contractors build them, but if they're bid as one project, we would realize a cost savings during construction as well. So the next item would be the kind of a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Conservancy District, basically treating both projects as a single combined project so that we can realize those cost savings.
Any questions, council? Legal's reviewed this as well, and Adam, in agreement, makes sense to do it, especially in this time of the market. Any advantages we can get for building a project, especially two that are essentially the same kind of building. So,
just as a point of interest, when we first started discussing this on this particular type of plant for the arsenic and so forth, we were looking at I think 6-7 million. What's because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring on there, so we're still. This may help us stay within.
Yeah, the latest cost estimate, and again, this is going to be refined during the design process, but we're thinking it's going to be around $8 million for the size that we need.
Thank you.
So that's for just
ours.
one building?
Yes.
That's ours.
Yeah.
Can you remind us about how much water this would be treating?
The Gunlock treatment plant, we're gonna build half of it right now, and it'll be able to treat about 6 million gallons a day. Ultimately, we'll be able to just flop the design and expand it. Ultimate capacity of 12 million gallons a day.
Now, we have some wells up there.
We have 11
so that's
wells.
that's the okay.
2 of which we are currently using, and they currently meet drinking water standards. The other 9 we're not using at this time.
Any other questions or discussion?
So this professional services agreement and this amount is for both facilities?
Yes. So the professional services agreement, the amount is $896,481. Of that, the city's portion is 60%, which is $532,665. Now, they're identical buildings, and you're wondering why St. George's is 60%.
That's Ron. He always gets a good deal.
You can say that, but in reality, the Gunlock treatment plant, because we have 11 wells that are spread out, there's a lot more piping involved to get from the wells to the treatment plant and then back to the distribution system. Whereas Sand Hollow, they're all there's not a whole lot of off-site piping involved.
All right. Very good. Any other questions? So first, council, we would need to consider 6J, which is the professional services agreement that Scott's just been talking about, and that amount.
But the amount I have isn't the same amount he just gave me.
Tell us again, Scott. Make sure it's the same.
So the amount would be for the total project, $896,461.
And the city's portion?
City's portion would be $532,665. I think you would want to award it for the total amount
Of the $896,461?
Yeah, because we'll end up doing a reimbursement or a cost-sharing agreement.
Very good.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion. First, I would say thank goodness for a Republican president so we could get this done by the BLM finally, right?
Only took 2
shake your
years.
head, yeah, 2 years later. Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the professional services agreement for the Gunlock Water Treatment Plant design for $896,461.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with the second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Now, we could go to K.
And I believe he discussed, Kay, the only point that, action we'd want from legal is that we make it subject to legal approval, because we're still working out how the reimbursement is going to work for the total project with the Conservancy District. But it's still the same as Scott explained to you, everybody pays their pro rata share. So just like with the services agreement, when the construction costs, those will be broken out. And as Scott said, we may have two different companies, we may have one. But we know that we can get the economies of scale if we bid it out together. So that's why we're doing it together.
Good.
So the percentages that Scott said are maybe?
Or a maybe, that's right, because we're going to do it with actual costs.
So the percentages on the professional services
That's
agreement,
set.
that's set.
Yeah.
When we get to construction,
Okay.
that may change.
Right, that part will
Got it.
change. That's why we're kind of in flux there, but it really realizes the cost savings for the city and the district to do it this way.
Very good.
Okay. I'd like to move to approve a memorandum of understanding with Washington County Water Conservancy District for the combining of the Gunlock Water Treatment Plant and the Sand Hollow Water Treatment Plant into a single project, subject to legal approval.
Second.
Motion by Betty with the second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Nothing going on in the water department. Nothing. Adam, is that it, other than reports?
That's it.
I'd like to see us recognize this group of young people in the
Yeah.
back there.
You want to come
Came in
tell
a
us who
little
you
late.
are? Come on up here.
I was talking about these two young people right here in front.
Oh, well, we know them. Come on up and tell us your names, and you must be here from a scout troop, is that right? So tell us what area of town you're from and maybe what troop you're from and your name.
We are Troop
1746.
What part of town are you from?
We're over by the border of Santa Clara at Stonebridge.
Gotcha. Stonebridge area, okay. Tell us your names.
My name is Tate Moss.
Tate Moss?
Yes.
Okay. Cougar, next to you there. What's your name?
Hudson
Hudson? Pilatus? Okay.
I'm Camden Wagner. I'm Tristan Jimenez. I'm Jay Cagley.
Nice to meet you all. What are you working on? Citizenship in the community? Uh-huh. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
And you know, Mayor, we heard one of them vote aye for one of those.
I know. I thought I
issues,
heard a
so
couple
that was-
extra ayes there.
Yeah.
For a minute, I was
They're
going,
paying
Ed,
attention.
are you saying the aye twice, or Joe? Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. Come anytime. If you come again, maybe we'll bring treats for you or something.
You won't even bring treats for us.
Yeah. Council, any reports or city manager or city attorney? Any reports for the council? Okay. Betty.
Tomorrow is the Soup and Bowl at the Art Museum. So if any of you would like to come and have a bowl of delicious soup
I'm coming.
and choose your handmade bowl that has been made by the Washington County School District students as well as the Dixie State University students. So it's
Is that 11 to
11 to
1 or whatever?
1 or 2.
Okay.
And we will have musical performances and an auction, but it's a lovely event.
Thanks for reminding us.
And the Fire and Ice, which is another fundraiser for Dixie State University, is tomorrow evening. And Saturday morning, there's something too. What is it, you guys? I just knew this.
I don't know.
Weekend. What?
Jimmy has to work.
Probably a snowstorm. I don't know. It's just a busy weekend. A symphony. I knew there was. The Southwest Symphony is performing.
Salute to Youth, isn't it?
Salute to Youth. That's a great concert as well. So
Very good.
always something happening.
Thanks for your help with the Excellence in the Arts Awards.
It's nice. Thank you.
Anything else, Betty, from your bailiwick? Jimmy? Yeah, we didn't have anything this week, did we? That we're okay. Do we have flood control next week, or is it not? Do you remember? I think not too. Okay, good. Michelle, anything? Joe? Ed?
Just to let you know, Mayor, the Dinosaur Museum is moving right along. They're still making profits, they're submitting plans and overviewing for moving across the street. And those details have been presented to Shane McAfee, and I'm sure he'll bring them back, and perhaps it'll be part of one of the presentations that they'll
Yeah,
make
I think they're
formally.
set to come next week. Yeah.
They may touch on that.
Another tunnel. Yeah. No, that's good. We'll have. It's worse, I think. Yeah, because it's such a busy road. We'll talk about it next week, I presume. I don't have anything else, so I'd entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else. Have a motion by Michelle. Do we have a second? If we need one.
Second.
We
By
don't. but
Jimmy.
Second.
All
yeah.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, if you dare? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, Nat,
Wow.
for
Great job, City Manager.